All right, we're live, episode 22. Got a special guest on today, Jeremey Wiggins. He National Guardsman. He's going to talk with us a little bit about military culture, how it's adapted and changed over the years, how he feels about it, and answer any kind of questions. Because me personally, I have no military background, so this is going to be a little bit of a loose area for me. So if you guys want to, you can go ahead and introduce yourselves. We get the show started.
Who wants to start?
Who am I pointing at?
Jeremy?
I think so.
I can't see a finger. So, yeah, I'm Jeremy Wiggins, 15-year vet, Army National Guard. Been a sergeant for the last 7. Grew up around a lot of these guys. I was with them around school a lot. My dad was actually their ag teacher he taught every last one of them, and some of them were a pain in his butt, but for the most part, they were all a pretty good group of folks. And I'm glad to be here.
Oh yeah. I'm the pony. As usual, ready to get things fucking weird.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, baby.
I am freely toxic, and I was homeschooled and didn't go to ag class. But I knew your dad pretty well. He was a good man.
He was one of the best. They don't make them like him anymore.
Nope.
Fact.
Definitely don't.
Hey, how are you? Hey, how are you?
Hey, how are you? Hey, how are you?
If that ain't the most Mr. Wiggins ass shit, though,
Every
am I
damn
wrong?
day.
And boy, I hate the word if.
Yeah, he would always say, "What if a frog had a glass butt?"
Yep.
Probably break that motherfucker.
Yeah.
What?
He also smoked the fuck out of some cigarettes, huh, Jeremy?
Winston Lights.
You're like,
God.
yeah, that's true, though.
That's right, baby.
And what one of his favorite quotes was, "Don't take life too seriously. You'll never make it out alive."
Right.
That's a pretty good one, though.
Yeah.
A modern day redneck Confucius.
That's what he was, though. And, like, real talk.
Shout out to Mr. Wiggins because
He was an ag
passed me
philosopher.
in biology, and I definitely didn't know what I was doing for sure. He gave me the grade. I'm almost positive.
He tried to teach us life skills that were important, though, really.
He did teach us life skills that were important.
No, I'm saying, like, looking back, he was like, you need to do this and this because the trades.
Yeah. If you got time to lean, you got time to clean.
Yep.
That's right.
That's one of my favorite sayings right there. I'll bust that one out at work all the time.
I feel like I left a pretty
Probably
good.
while you're leaning on something, huh?
You're
Yep.
goddamn right.
Yeah.
I feel like I left a pretty.
Example type person. He was always I'm going to follow what the main crowd's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, if y'all just kind of want me to kind of start talking about some stuff, I can do it that way, or we can start it off with a Q&A and just kind of get things started and see where it rolls.
I'm cool with a Q&A.
I usually like to save
All right,
Q&As
cool.
for the end.
Down,
It's up to you guys.
Whatever.
I'm just hosting, man. I'm just here for the fucking ride.
So, a couple of things that I've seen in my 15-year career, because I just hit 15 years yesterday. The expectation of discipline has greatly suffered in the last 20 years. A 2-mile run, you was wearing your combat boots. You can go out into the field, you're wearing your combat boots. Going on a hike, you're wearing your combat boots.
How comfortable are those boots?
about, about as comfortable as getting an enema.
I've never had one. Wouldn't
Feels
know.
great then, right?
Yeah, it's not bad. Like,
Wait, are we talking about like a water enema or like
Yeah.
I mean, gravy, water, yogurt, whatever.
beer?
Well, okay, it's about as comfortable as being high as a kite sitting in church.
That's a great explanation, and I'm surprised you said that. Like,
Yeah.
damn.
So that
Yeah.
literally, I mean that's what it's like, because I mean you're so worried about, if I land wrong, I'm going to roll an ankle or whatever. So you constantly have these different worries in your mind. Well,
Yep.
when I went through basic training in 2008, we got
What a
forced.
wonderful time to join the military.
Yeah, that was the time to do it, I guess. But anyway, we got 4 uniforms. That was our fatigues, our duty uniforms. But they gave us 3 or 4 sets of t-shirts and shorts and tennis shoes. And that's how we did PT, because apparently they had figured out that by making everybody run in combat boots was causing people to have knee problems and shin splints, and people were constantly rolling their ankles because they had no support. But after I went through, the next group behind me, and this is more y'all's side of the generation, where, because when I went through, they could still yell at you, cuss at you, and call you everything but a white boy. Well, now they can't do that anymore. Like they literally have what they call a stress card now. And if you feel like you have been treated unfairly, or you were singled out or whatever, you can take that stress card and take it to the executive officer, which is usually a first lieutenant, and say, my feelings are hurt. I don't like my drill sergeant. He's a bully.
Yeah.
Please move me somewhere else.
Yeah.
Dude, you joined the freaking military. What'd you think it was going to be? Sunshine, rainbows, and picnics?
Well, I mean, that does sound nice, Jeremy.
But
Those damn recruiters.
What kind of fish sticks? Gordon's?
Do what?
Is it Gordon's fish sticks?
I don't remember.
The good uns.
I always kind of try to stay with the Idas myself, because I don't know what it is about the Ida brand, like different French fries and tater tots. They had 1.2 that I'm talking about would make you want to slap your mama. They were so good. But the
So
thing
that's
about
like a
it,
9 out of 10. What is slap your mama on a 1 out of 10 rating?
about a 12 on a bad day.
I agree.
Okay, it's off the charts. Basically, there is no 10-point scale. Okay,
I love
literally,
potatoes.
Potatoes are actually slightly poisonous, if you motherfuckers didn't know.
I like them French fried taters.
I eat them, don't get me wrong, but I'm saying, like,
So are beans.
the Irish struggled with that. Like, they ate so many fucking potatoes that they were getting sick and shit, and they're like, what the fuck? Poison.
They also almost died out because of a lack of potatoes. So
That's called lack of food. That's called starvation.
it's called. Look up the potato famine. The
Right,
potatoes
that's all they had.
The potatoes caught the blight, and it fucked it up.
But yeah, so the life of the military, the way my expectation of it going in, and this was, like I said, this was just my mindset, but I came from a heavy military family. And to me, the military is a whole special breed of people. Okay, 1% of 1% of the population joins the military. Okay, and it's usually the strongest, toughest, most, passionate individuals you'll ever come across. So to me, the military has their own kind of, we want you to know this, we want you to be able to do this. So you need to forget everything you learned from the civilian side and let me teach you what you need to know. It was kind of like Dad in the ad shop.
So school is. I'm sorry, Jeremy. I was saying, so school really doesn't compare or prepare you at all.
Not for the military, no. Okay. And the way the school system is now, they're not teaching these kids anything.
No.
Correct. I agree.
It's all focused around the standardized test and boosting the numbers to make the school look good. They're not concerned about educating the kids. Because I can go up there to Ringgold right now, and I guarantee I can talk to every single class, and not one person would be able to tell me what the preamble to the Constitution even is. Not the words to it, but what it is, what it stands for, what it represents. Not a single
caught me
one
slipping.
of them. Okay.
I knew that. Can you refresh us?
I know the actual preamble.
Yeah, I was about to quote some of it, I thought, and then I was
We
like,
the
fuck,
people,
now
in
I'm
order
doubting
to form a
myself.
more perfect union.
There we go, Peanut. I'm proud of
Yeah.
your homeschooled ass.
So the preamble to the Constitution was the guideline and an expectation of how government was supposed to run. Okay? It was their rules and regulations that are applied to them on how they govern the people. And these career politicians in DC and, even at the state level, they have forgotten that they are actually employees of the citizens of this country or that state or that community or whatever. Well, that's what the military kind of has that same thing. I mean, in the oath, it says, I swear to defend the Constitution of the United States of America and bear true faith and allegiance to the same. I will follow the orders of the President of the United States and the officers appointed over me.
I have a question then, Jeremy, because this is something that I'm sure a lot of people have worried about, but they don't really like verbalizing it. Say it came down to some bad, shady shit going on. Would the soldiers turn on the civilians? Would you take
That's a good
orders?
question.
Would you directly take orders to capture us and or execute us?
I'm going to answer that with another statement from the oath.
Okay.
Okay. So it says that I swear to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States and the citizens of the United States. That is actually above and beyond the orders of the president and the officers appointed over me. It's the people and the Constitution.
Oh, it says that in there.
Yes, it does.
Interesting.
So that order, if it comes from the president to go and imprison Americans or go go to people's houses and start taking away their guns.
Yeah, something simple like that. Gun control, like forced martial law, which is realistic.
There is an unlawful order and can be refused to be followed.
But here's the question. Wouldn't y'all just get off too? Like, let's be real here.
Yeah, I mean, because
you get asked to do something.
There's bound to be people in the military that would follow that order.
Right.
Like
a large amount of them.
Which is why I wanted to talk about this, because you're right. The new soldiers coming up behind me, because I'm coming up on 15 years, which another 5 years, I'll hit retirement. Unless I get my medical retirement and then I can get out within the next 2 years. But the group coming up behind me, the ones that I'm responsible for training, and I have tried to instill this in the younger group coming up behind me, that there's a right way and a wrong way to buck the system.
Okay.
And question that authority.
Can you give examples? Like, I know that would be kind of difficult, but can you give us an example of a good way that would be possible?
You can the best way to do it would be not verbally. You would put it in an email, write it down, put it in a memo, and have it go between your we're going to start at the lowest level. Let's say I'm just an E3 private first class and I have a problem with something. Well, I write it out and then I send it to my team leader. And I will have him read it, review it. He'll sign off on it. If it's good, if it's bad, he'll kick it back to me and I'll rewrite it. But it takes at least 3 signatures: the team leader, the squad leader, and the platoon sergeant. An E5, an E6, and an E7.
I guess here's the only issue. What if the command came from your superior? Like, it just trickles up back to them, and then they're like, huh, okay. And then they got you on paper not conforming.
As wording means everything. Words have meanings. So
You can say anything you want. It's how you say it. It's
all in how you articulate it.
Penis.
So for me, dude, do you have dick on the brain or something? Because that's like
all
the
the time.
Always.
Yeah, they do. I don't know what's wrong with them.
Look, we've been trying to
Joe
figure
Burrow's
that out.
cock.
Yeah,
That's a little odd.
For me,
I'm just here to make
Nancy
dick jokes.
Pelosi.
Who said that?
Me.
The way that I would word that is based upon the oath that I raised my hand and swore. This is an unconstitutional, unlawful order that I can refuse to disobey. Or
Did they do that?
Because it's unlawful and unconstitutional.
It almost sounds
under the oath that I swore.
It almost sounds like for instance, like using self-defense in a homicide case. Like, you would still be court-martialed, you would still go through the ramifications of not following orders, but it would basically be like a defense that you would use. Like, it can be it can be moved on from because I'm using the defense of it was an unlawful order.
Well,
like, you'll still get in trouble for it, but you could argue your way out of it.
Did any soldier do that during Iraq? Because like the weapons of mass destruction that were never found, just for an example, I want to know, did soldiers actually just refuse? Because if so, that's great. And I was curious of what happened to them. But I know a lot of them probably didn't, because mob mentality is a real bitch too.
So I'm gonna tell you this. The order was never refused, but it wasn't carried out to its intent. If that makes sense.
The idea was to go in and find weapons of mass destruction, as ultimately we knew they probably weren't there because we sold them to Afghanistan and Iran. And
it was proven we had knowledge that they were in fact not there, and that they lied in front of Congress and America about it.
Okay, hold on. As far as weapons of mass destruction, is sarin gas not considered that? Because they definitely had sarin.
No, they literally hinted very heavily that there were nuclear weapons.
Yeah, sarin would not be weapons of mass destruction. That would be chemical weapons. It would be a different classification.
Chemical warfare, but they didn't have a functional weapon.
They were definitely in the process of making one. Obviously,
They-
any country that wants to take power or hold power, that's their first ambition. That's why we're fucking with Iran right now. They want nuclear capability.
Intel came in and it got jumbled. You know how you can tell a story over
Thank you.
here 3 days later to get back to you and the whole story has completely changed? That's what happened. Okay. It was there, but what happened, and this is this fact. Somebody allowed it to leak out that we were looking for weapons of mass destruction, and they pulled the shit out of Iraq and moved it over to Pakistan because we're allies.
Seems reasonable.
Okay.
Like that's would make sense. If I was say I was Saddam Hussein, right? And I was in fact trying to build weapons of mass destruction with my uranium and plutonium that I'm purchasing from neighboring Iran. Well, if American troops are definitely coming in on me and I know it, I'm gonna fucking move it.
Exactly.
Like it seems reasonable to believe that. We did not find weapons of mass destruction there. That does not mean the intent to create them was not there, right?
Well, the order was to go in and find it, but there was some shady stuff happening, and I can't go into details as to what it was because it's classified.
Well, let's. I feel like it's safe to say that the Iraq War, and I do take right wing stances on most things, right?
No.
But the Iraq War was retribution for George Sr. not being able to overthrow Saddam in the early 90s.
Did I hear a small engine starting
I don't
from
think
that
so.
cat-looking thing over there?
An engine starting?
Yeah, I think I heard you revving up.
Oh yeah, I did hear some revving up,
But I heard you.
but
He said,
ultimately,
what is he
the Iraq War was about retribution and overthrowing Saddam because it couldn't happen. It didn't happen in the 90s like they wanted.
No, the Iraq War was about oil, but they couldn't come out and explicitly say it was for the oil because that would be an international crime. So they lied about weapons of mass destruction, bald face.
So you don't think it's suspicious that George Bush Sr. ran on the promise and ran that he was going to overthrow Saddam Hussein for his atrocities against the Kurds, right? He didn't do it and then only served one term. And then his son gets elected, 8 years later? And then bam, new Iraq War.
Well, Reagan and Bush were the ones that put Saddam in place. Bush Sr. later flipped because Saddam didn't want to give them the oil because he wanted to keep the oil as capital power so that he could enrich the Iranian Empire.
I agree.
And that's what led to it.
Initially, probably about oil, but the second go around, definitely about retribution.
No, I think retribution was was a second thought. The main thing in all of this, with all the illegal invasions that we do, it's all about the material resources. I mean, the reason we invaded Afghanistan is because Afghanistan contains 85% of the world's opium. All of our painkiller pharmaceuticals were essentially coming from Afghanistan, and Afghanistan was trying to institute nationalist policies that would make it more expensive. That was another reason why we invaded, and we used bin Laden as an excuse. It's always using these excuses of we're trying to fight terrorism, we're trying to take these weapons of mass destruction out of these countries, but lo and behold, there's no evidence, and sometimes there's even evidence that they don't have it.
It's always a war on something that ain't a war.
I think we should invade Iran for their plutonium and their uranium. I think we should be allowed to invade for resources.
That's fascist shit, dude.
It's not fascist.
Yes, that is like the definition of fascist. That's like literally what Hitler did. That he invaded Poland, he invaded France, not only for the strategic positioning against the neighboring countries like the UK, but he also did it for their international imports. That is fascist shit, dude.
I'm saying, to build a strong country, you must have resources, and Iran currently holds some of the most of the uranium mines in the world.
And you're saying you're saying America's the only country that matters because it's the one you live in, so we have the right to go rape other countries of their resources. That's fascism, or I should say, that's an aspect of fascism.
I mean, it's better than running on, like, oh, we should fucking try to free them. That's a communist ideology. It's still same thing in the end.
Who
You,
said
you
that?
think free? Just gonna play in your hypothetical. You think freeing a country is the same thing as explicitly going and taking their resources for our own benefit?
Yeah, because if I free a country and I install my own government,
Which is
and
what
then I sell the exports to us at a discounted rate, is the same as going in and just taking the resources.
See, I don't think you know what
It's-
communism is because you literally just described what the Reagan and the Bush administrations have done to multiple countries, and the Obama administration have done to multiple countries in the past 40 years. That's a conservative route of geopolitics, of going in and saying that they're liberating the country of socialism, and they institute far right dictators like Saddam. And then when Saddam doesn't do what they want him to, it backfires and they start going after weapons of mass destruction, when in reality they're just going for the oil. The oil is the only reason why they were interested in Iraq. Like, just like when Reagan did the Iran-Contra crisis.
It would not. The oil would not be so
I think
much of
Jeremy-
an issue if we were allowed to drill the way we need to here and annex Canada.
I think Jeremy
So-
had some input.
To put it into layman's terms, it wasn't so much about taking the resources. It was actually trying to overthrow the government that was put into place, i.e. Saddam Hussein, who didn't play ball the way they wanted him to. So now they initiated a coup to remove him from power.
Yeah,
And
but
We've
coups
we've
have
done that to
happened-
20 different countries.
Yeah, but coups have happened under Democratic rule, so it's, to say it's solely a Republican or conservative ideology is absolute and utter bullshit.
But
No, it's not, because America is historically go.
one side or the other. I
America.
never specified what side of the aisle it came from, because all of them have done it. Republicans, Democrats, liberals, all of them. They have all had a hand in that.
But it's overwhelmingly conservative geopolitical strategy. Even the Obama administration was going off of generals that were appointed during the Bush administration. A lot of it, even Bill Clinton with the little invasions and Bill Clinton really didn't do a whole lot of explicit invading the way Obama did. He did more like tariffs on countries like Venezuela. But it's all for benefit of the capitalist enterprise in America. It's all about pinching foreign countries that decide to put up democratic people, like Chavez, that wanted to nationalize oil and wanted to nationalize petroleum and gold exports so that it can enrich their own country, and that would put a hole in the pocket of a lot of American corporations. So American corporations lobbied with the American government to illegally invade them, create a coup, and institute a far-right dictator that would cooperate with the American institutions. It's that simple. It's the consequences of post-Reagan geopolitics.
So I'm looking at every invasion that America has done to install their own leaders, and it seems pretty spread out between Democrat and Republican.
Like I said, it's happening.
We're not talking partisanship here. We're talking about the political alignment and the motives, and it's almost consistently a conservative need to prioritize capitalist enterprise over the well-being of the people of those different countries.
And you don't think the liberals in politics are also profiteering from that?
Peanut, Democrats are also conservative. We are in a far-right government right now.
That's why I said liberal. The people running on progressive platforms and liberal platforms, and less conservative Democrats or Republicans.
Do you think they're liberal? Do you think they're economically liberal? Because the only thing people like Obama ran on that was progressive was gay rights. If you look at this economic policy, it's literally like a one-for-one comparison to Reagan's economic policy. It's all extremely neoliberal and hyper-capitalistic. That's really the root of it.
But that
Right.
all of that is kind of getting a little bit into, the more that's going too far off the rabbit trail there.
To keep
Okay.
us of the void.
Like Ethan said, the engine's revving up.
Rum, 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 rum.
You can literally sit there and look at both sides, and you don't have enough fingers to point at everybody who's doing wrong.
We got a comment in the chat. It says, that's what happened in Iran until the Shah was overthrown.
Yep. But
Just making
anyway,
up words.
What's that, Peanut?
He's just making up words. What's a Shah?
I'm not exactly sure.
a Shah is the top religious leader in the region.
SHAH?
I believe.
Shah?
Yeah.
Shah!
Yeah, now they have what was the position called? I always want to call it the Grand Poobah. Shit, I can't remember the official name of the position, but thanks to America, Iran became a theocratic dictatorship before it was actually a liberal democracy.
It was doing wonderful before.
Yes, actually, Iran was doing pretty fucking well post World War II. It was not until the Iran-Contra crisis that Reagan funded extreme right militias to overthrow the government because Iran did not want to work with the oil companies.
And see, I disagreed with Peanut's statement earlier about, we ought to be able to invade countries. I think invasions are absolutely wrong.
Damn.
There's no need for them.
The Ayatollah.
If you have a little bit of common sense and a halfway working brain, you can literally sit down like adults and have a conversation and come to an agreement on something.
Jeremy, I completely agree with you. We should just start carpet bombing and not actually put boots on the ground. Thank you. We
That's
just
not what he was
level
saying.
the whole country and then come in. It's not really an invasion. It's just a vacation.
Jesus, you're just biting the whole genocide bullet, my guy.
No. Indiscriminately. I'm not picking a specific
Motherfucker, what? No,
we can ship some white people in there too, bud. I'm okay with that.
That would still be genocide.
No, it's genocide is picking a specific ethnic or religious group and killing them that way. No, I believe.
Well, you did say that we should invade Iran
you think
for their
there's
resources.
Only brown Muslim people in Iran? That's fucking racist.
No, there's Iranians. Iranians are an ethnic group.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
so
they're also known as Persians, and if you carpet bomb a country that's 99% Persian, that would be a genocide. You would be killing millions of Persians with American weaponry. Your tax dollars would be facilitating a genocide. Once again, an aspect of fascism.
So,
Peanut's a fascist.
Oh, I make that
You heard
point
it
like
here
every
first.
other episode.
I don't know if you guys have taken the time to read the constitutions from other countries. I have. Okay, and I'm not going to sit there and tell you that I've got them memorized, but our constitution is the best well-written constitution of them all. Because in our constitution,
Gays can get married.
The power belongs to the people. In other countries, it says the power belongs to the government that rules the people. Now, that being said, every politician in America is not following that. Even Nancy Pelosi herself stood inside the House of Representatives and said, the American people work for us. We do not work for them.
Well, luckily that bitch has tucked tail and went into hiding, right?
Yeah,
Persians are only 61% of Iran.
So
it's not like
majority.
98%. Yeah, so like we we offset that number by about 11%, and then it's just regular old murder. Problem solved. Peanut 2024.
So that brings me to my actual point.
You have disgusting political beliefs.
I just like pissing.
We got another
off.
Nixon on our hands.
Generation soldiers coming up do not have the necessary knowledge to be able to refute an unlawful, to even be able to determine if it's an unlawful order. And it is developing an entire generation of soldiers that are going to be yes men.
Yeah, and that's problematic. That's problematic as far as like what Joey was talking about.
Run off and go do it because somebody with rank told them to.
Isn't that kind of the whole purpose of the military?
To an extent, but not completely.
Our Constitution limits the power of the government. That's why we have the second, not against our enemies, to keep the government in line. As a comment from Al Green in the chat.
So that's kind of my point, is nobody really knows the law, the Constitution, the different amendments, and how it applies to being able to say, no, I'm not going to do that.
I've got a question about your opinion on the Second Amendment, Jeremy.
Okay.
Okay. Do you think that the Second Amendment is absolute for individual Americans? Does it convey personal ownership of weapons?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely based.
Wait, which part though? Because from what I remember, it says a regulated militia. That's not individual ownership. In fact, individual ownership was not constitutionally recognized until the late 70s because of lobbying from the NRA.
I identify as a well-regulated militia, so therefore.
Okay.
No, you stand against it. You don't like gun control.
But let's go back to the very opening line of the Constitution. We the people.
Yeah, not the individual. The people, as in a collective group, as in a regulated militia. That's the opposite of an individual.
You have a flawed interpretation there.
Absolutely.
How?
Because the difference between you're thinking militia being military, and it's not.
No, I'm not. A militia is actually the alternative to a military.
Exactly. Which is made up of individuals.
Right. But that doesn't mean those individuals have the individual right of ownership. The militia, as the group, well regulated, has the right to form, has the right to distribute weapons.
So if I personally claim myself to be a well-regulated militia, does that not
no? Because a militia, I think I would have to look up the definition of militia, but I'm pretty sure it's more than one person.
Me and my wife.
Yeah, you would. I don't know the specific legal criteria for what would make a militia, but you would not.
We are the militia.
What makes up a well-regulated militia? Who does the regulation, or did they simply mean a well-trained militia?
You could institute like a private democratic board, similar to like a neighborhood watch, for instance. It doesn't have to be under the purview of the executive branch. It can be done privately, but if you read the Second Amendment, it says that you have the right to bear arms in a regulated militia. That is the opposite of saying that individual people have the right to own guns. If it was an unalienable right for an individual to own a gun, then people that are, for instance, mentally ill or violent felons, it would be illegal for you to take their weapons away, because inalienable means that you cannot separate them from that right. Are you saying that you want violent felons and severely mentally ill people to possess weapons?
Sure.
No, they don't. Multiple states actually have like red flag laws, for instance. And
that's a good idea.
Red flag laws are straight up fucking bullshit. Like, what stops somebody from saying, "Oh, Ethan, I think Ethan's planning to shoot up a school. I'm just using that as an example, not a personal dig. But what stops him from getting red flag because of my opinion?
You must not know.
I really didn't mean that as a dig. Like,
It's
honestly,
not a.
You
but
must
it
not
would-
know
it
how
would
red
have to
flag.
be-
You must not know how red flag laws work. Then
no, because there's
Yeah, it
not
would
one
have
in
to
my
be-
state.
It'd have to be a
There probably should be.
diagnosis already, right? And it would have to
Yep.
be like reported by somebody.
by the local sheriff, it would have to. It would have. It would have.
Right.
It would have to be. For instance, if it's a red flag for a medical condition or mental illness, it would have to be an affidavit created by a family member and by the medical professional supervising the person. It would then have to be appointed to the local sheriff's office for the sheriff's office to investigate. If the investigation goes to grand jury, they confiscate the weapons temporarily while the case is pending, and then that person has the right to fight whether they have the right to own weapons or not. And if somebody is, for instance, a paranoid schizophrenic with a violent past, a court will then have the right to say, no, you legally cannot own weapons because you are a danger to yourself or others. That's what I call that's what I call a well-regulated militia, right in line with the Second Amendment.
The government is not a militia, and they don't have any say in.
No,
what I do as an
you
individual.
missed the first part. The private citizens creating the affidavit to take the danger away from that person. That
That's
would
a long, drawn out process.
But no, you said the
But that's-
sheriff has to be involved in that. That's government.
right, because the government has monopoly of power.
It's local
So-
government.
Which goes against the Constitution because the Constitution is to limit governmental power.
That doesn't
So-
mean removing the monopoly of power.
I think
But
it does.
but it still gives us the people the right to overthrow the government should we find that they are acting in a tyrannical manner.
We may have the right, but are we capable of that?
We might not have the resources, but we do have the right to overthrow the government and have them removed from office.
In theory, yeah. In reality, no, that's not going to happen. I'm gonna pop all the bubbles in the audience, but America is the largest military in the history of humanity. We have weapons that are not even conceivable to average people. You can get together a million conservative people that want to overthrow the government because they view it as tyrannical. It's not going to make a difference.
Okay,
Our government's
hold
way
on.
too fucking huge for that.
We
can-
also have the largest
let me-
military budget.
Let me just say something. You
in
know
the
what
world.
you know what the hardest type of military is to fight? And we learned this in Iraq and Vietnam.
Insurgent.
Insurgent, and that's what it would be. Yeah, fly your helicopters over. People can bunker down. Like, we didn't win.
If
in
it got
Iraq,
if it
we
got to
didn't
the
win in
point
fucking
if it got to the point where we're in Civil War 2.0 and there's giant swaths of America rebelling and fighting against the American military, the only way for us to even stand a chance is if the majority of the military in those areas were sympathetic to those causes. But the issue, like going back to the main discussion, a lot of people in the military are not going to disseminate against the executive branch. The whole purpose of
Right.
them being in the military is to follow the orders of the executive branch. But it would take a lot of different factors for this hypothetical future we're talking about.
Actually, it's not, because if you recall in the oath, it says to defend the Constitution, not the government, not the president, the Constitution. Okay, that's the purpose of the military, is to uphold and defend the Constitution.
I feel like you're getting hung up on the theory and the ideas within the Constitution, not the actual real life material outcomes that our government has.
I think they would be very hard pressed to win a war against insurgents in America with the types of terrain we have and the amount of space and land and all that. Like, there's no fucking way.
Okay,
All it would take is 30% of the military stealing equipment, and we'd have it fucking smoked.
But the majority of the American military is drone operated. You would have to have an insurgent portion of the military basically hack what is it called, ARAD, or what is it called? The
NORAD.
NORAD, thank you. You'd have to have them hack the whole NORAD system, which is controlled by the Pentagon. You would essentially have to operate a military coup to overthrow the Pentagon, and then use the Pentagon as violent leverage against the executive branch to institute a dictatorship.
Sounds
Capital
like a
was
plan,
over.
Rory. I'm
The
down.
Capitol was overthrown without a military operation.
Peanut, I'm not like
we're
you.
spitballing here. I think
I'm
we're
not-
getting good ideas. And
I'm
I
not
think
like
you're finally
you.
on our side.
I don't want a fascist coup. I don't want a fascist autocracy to take over the American governmental system. That's how you destroy the very Constitution. That's how you destroy the very Constitution that you claim to defend.
It's known in American history, and they don't like to teach it much anymore. But a lot of fucking change came from violent revolution. Motherfuckers had to get nasty for people to get back on track. Sometimes when you were being bad as a kid, daddy needed to whoop you.
That doesn't mean
Or
that
daddy.
all revolutions are good.
We need to whoop daddy, is what I'm saying.
So
It's time to whip. It's time to whip that ass.
I agree.
I've had
wholeheartedly.
enough. I'm tired of hearing they're bitching and they're whining. Bend it over and let's whip that ass.
I mean,
Let's invade. No, I'm not going to say that.
if
Canada.
go back,
I was thinking we start with Mexico.
Jesus Christ.
Easier. Canadians
No.
are fucking rough and tough, bro.
Yeah, but Mexicans have knives.
the
And tunnels.
revolution in American history would be 1775 when the 13 original colonies voted a levy to go to war with Britain for taxation without representation, which actually brought about the Declaration of Independence and which birthed the Constitution. And the Declaration of Independence was signed into law July 4th, 1776. Okay.
Right about the time the Federal Reserve was created.
It was actually ratified.
Right.
It was actually ratified on the second, and the document that was created was the Articles of Confederation. The Constitution came a couple years later, but that's me just being a history stickler.
Dang, I
History
fucked that
Hitler.
up, huh?
So
Oops.
the fact remains that government does not hold the power like the people think they do. We hold the power. The problem is you can't get enough people to stand up and say anything and do anything. If the people would do their research and understand how the Constitution is laid out, not just read the words, understand its meaning, then we could take this country back and turn it back around and make it do what it's supposed to do.
My main issue with
social media. Sorry, go ahead, Rory.
my main issue with advocating of just reading the Constitution plain face is that it ignores once again the material reality of constitutional law, because courts, whenever they're ruling on constitutionality, they're not looking at the literal Constitution as a document. They're looking at previous cases over the past couple centuries that have ruled through the individual interpretations of the Constitution. So for what you're saying, you would have to actually read and do research into constitutional law, which a lot of people do not have the time or patience for.
So basically, what you're saying is the Constitution is not an absolute document, it's more of a fundamental.
Well, it's by definition not an absolute document. It's a living document. It's not like the Bible. It's supposed to be changed. That's why we have amendments.
So you admit that the Bible is real.
No, I admit the Bible
Got
claims.
him.
I admit
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Rory's a Christian. Rory's a Christian. Rory's a
Peanut.
Christian.
Peanut, I don't know how to break this to you, but yes, the Bible is a real book. It exists. It's a thing.
It is physical.
It's a physical
He
thing.
believes it.
Yeah, I do
Right,
believe.
so
I do believe the
we've won.
Bible exists.
We've won the war, guys. This is 1
Yeah.
point for us.
Woo! Rory's a Christian.
Yeah, I'm a Christian because I believe a book exists.
You're Catholic, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Or are you still a Southern Baptist?
Better
No,
hide that little boy.
full on Roman Catholic. Why not?
There we go. Fuck it.
Ethan, there's no such thing as Southern Baptist. It's Baptist.
That's true.
Southern Baptist
Well,
is
Actually, because there is
As
they're a different breed.
As fun as this has been,
Oh.
I've got to get off of here because Rory's given me some great ideas on how me and him are gonna set up the next revolution. So
How
tune in
to
next
invade
time.
the Pentagon.
We've got to.
I
got to
fucking
do
said
that.
it.
Rory, thank you for
Yeah.
that. Thank you for giving me that inspiration. It's all on Rory.
I'm gonna start a riot.
Well, I hope you get shot right in the cranium when you go to attempt that fascist coup of yours.
Not with you by
Yikes.
my side, bud. Not with you.
escalated quickly.
Rum, 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 rum.
Yeah.
So-
All right. Well, I'm
Good
gonna
night.
go watch Yellowstone and jerk off. So.
Oh, is that what you're doing?
Yes,
Is it coming
that's-
on right now?
Dude,
On
it's
Sun-
on.
Putting it on
On a
Oh,
Sunday,
it's
how could
on?
you, Peanut? That's blasphemy.
That's funny. That ties back to you're now a Christian. That's good. That's a good joke. I fucking appreciate it.
Wham, 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 wham.
All right, guys. Later.
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 Man, fuck that guy. He's a piece of shit.
Absolutely. Fascist piece of shit. God.
Was that your
Joey, you've
soundboard?
been
What the
awfully
fuck was
fucking
that?
quiet. Yeah, could you hear
I'm
that?
here.
You want me to do it again?
Has he been watching CNN too damn much?
Peanut
Holy shit,
You talking
or,
about
or
me?
Rory?
Rory.
No, I don't.
Rory does enjoy CNN a time every now and then.
I don't like CNN or
You hate
NPR.
it?
I don't want to say I hate it. I definitely hate like Fox News outlets. I will occasionally use CNN for different links, but I don't sit there and watch the CNN channel. I don't listen to fucking news pundits. I actually do research. I'm not just some bobblehead
MSNBC?
regurgitating
The
stupid
Young
shit.
Turks. Young
MSNBC
Turks.
more your
I'm
thing?
not. I'm not much of a fan of the Young Turks anymore.
Well, to be honest with you, Dad and Pawpaw and Uncle Benji, they all watch the news, noon, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock every day.
I know. I actually argued with your dad quite a few times about like flat taxes, for instance. I'm not sure if I changed his mind, but I definitely opened him up to the issues with the flat tax.
And to be honest with you, the news media now, it's all democratically ran.
No, it's not. You think Democrats run Fox News?
I think that the bourgeois does.
Oh yeah, obviously.
Who's the bourgeois?
Are we getting Marxian? We're getting into my territory.
Well,
So-
me and you kind of view that word slightly different, but yeah.
Your question about Fox News, it's irrelevant.
Okay.
Because and here's why. I don't care what news outlet it is, they all get their information from the same resource. Now, I will give Fox News credit for one thing. They will tell both sides of the story, but they only tell what is approved for them to tell, just like all the rest of them do.
Okay.
Okay. CNN will only tell one side of the story. MSNBC only tells one side of the story. CBS, ABC, same thing. They only tell one side of the story. Fox News is the only one that will tell both sides, but they omit the details. Really brings the story to light.
I think you're caught in a bit of a neutrality bias almost. Fox News, while as you put it, says both sides of the story. For instance, like Tucker Carlson, he'll bring up the left, quote marks the left, when he's talking about Democrats, and he'll frame it in a right wing framing to where, yeah, he's mentioning them, but he's basically putting it to where they're unconstitutional, they're tyrants, and the right wing is the correct side. And both all media outlets, all mainstream media outlets do this for the most part. It's just a pseudo competition between partisanship, when in reality, like Joey said, it's all controlled by the bourgeois. And I got news for you, the bourgeois is not liberal. It's quite conservative and quite hyper-capitalist. At the end of the day, it's all about the drive of capitalism.
It's all about the almighty dollar.
For all the shit that people talk about MSNBC and CNN, they're still neoliberal. They're still conservative aligned. They're center right in most things economic. Real voices, real leftist voices, and socialistic voices, like for instance, like myself, you don't hear that shit in mainstream media. You hear extreme right and you hear centrist voices. All media outlets actively suppress the voices of leftist outlets, and the only time you hear anything about any kind of leftist speakers, they pluck the most extreme examples of, for instance, college students talking gender politics, like Ben Shapiro highlight reels and things like that. It's essentially a giant cabal. I hate to use that word because the fucking connotations around it, but it's essentially a giant group of wealthy landowners that don't give a shit about Democrat, Republican. They're worried about destroying any threat to their power, to their capital. And Marxian theory is a real threat to capital.
Yeah, you got me on all that, Rory. Try not to pay too much attention to the news for the simple reason of all that shit you just said. Instead, I just sit back and form my own personal opinion on the bits and pieces that I end up having crammed down my throat.
All information is filtered. All information is biased. The question is, are we acknowledging the bias and how the bias is affecting our outcome, and for the reasons that we're getting the outcome? I mean, that's kind of the core of doing research and having statistical, sociological analysis. I feel like we've gone in the weeds.
We definitely fucking yeah, we went off on a tangent.
So, but it does kind of play into it, because I mean there's a political aspect to everything that goes on.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know, like I'll give you one example, for the lack of a better word, that the military is facing right now, that it's going to have some serious consequences if it gets pushed in too soon, and that's this gender neutral crap. Because in the military, if the way they have it set right now is, in order for you to change your gender, you have to have a completed surgery that allows you to be able to identify that way. I.e., a man that claims to be a woman has to go have the sex change surgery and it be completed before they can claim that they're female.
Okay.
But you still have open bay barracks, which is just a big building with a bunch of bunk beds lined up on both sides of the wall. And you're just going to shove 53 people into that one room. Well, males and females cannot house together. Males and females cannot shower together. Now you got a man that thinks he's a woman. He's still got a penis, and he's going to be showering with a bunch of females.
Wait. I thought you just said he had to go through the full transition first.
They do, but
So if they went through the full transition, they don't have a penis, and either way, that doesn't inherently mean that they're sexual predators.
But that doesn't it doesn't say that all the equipment has to be removed. That's the loophole. You see what I'm saying?
So then it's not a full gender transition surgery; it's a hormonal replacement.
So and that's what I'm saying is it's not going to have a good outcome because they're still going to have those tendencies regardless. So you're still opening up the fact of having sexual assaults, which the military doesn't tolerate, but you're going to throw this into the mix and
depends on what part of the military you're in.
Huh?
Depends on what part of the military you're in. Sexual assault is actually pretty high in the military when you compare it to other professions.
I was gonna say, I think it happens,
but that's what I'm saying. It happens a lot.
Specifically, sexual assault.
So your framing essentially is people are going to apply for transgender hormonal replacement and apply in essentially the HR of the military. They're going to call themselves women just to sexually assault women.
I didn't say that was going to be their sole intention, but the thing about it is you're going to open the door for that to happen.
Do you have any statistical evidence that would show that?
Well, I mean, look at the way the military is now. It's already happening. That's the reason we have the classes that we have every year. That's the reason that we get, and multiple times a year. The SHARP program in the military, I get a briefing on it every 3 months.
What's the SHARP program?
Sexual Assault and Abuse Response Program. Okay.
The show's about that. I'm sorry.
We get that briefing 3 times a year. Okay. The numbers are not going down.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going up, but it's not doing any good. You throw this into the mix and those numbers are going to skyrocket.
But that's just conjecture. You have no statistical evidence of that.
One question. When did they start doing this program in the military?
Well, I mean, I've been doing it all of my career.
Okay.
I don't know when it started, but I've been in the military 15 years and I've been getting it every year.
So I guess where I'm going with that is it was a problem long before all the gender transition surgeries, right?
It was introduced in 2006.
The program?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when did they start allowing...
All right, we're back again. I literally can't even pull up the next window to do a fucking Google search, man. This shit's annoying. I'm using my phone now, but...
Okay. All
right, we're back.
We're good?
Yep.
Yeah, so I guess where I was going with that is I'm not disagreeing with you that it won't open the door to a couple sickos that are very well got those intentions. But I don't think like what am I trying to say here? I don't think it's like it's going to be devastating to the statistics.
Yeah, I think you're talking about extremely fringe cases. You're talking about a dozen cases out of tens of thousands of people. Like, there's no statistical relevance to that at all. If anything, from the sociological studies that I've seen, it actually might lower sexual assault, because creating the gender neutral facilities would be essentially opening up the interactions between the different genders and non-binary people, and essentially taking these segregated darker areas and bringing them into the light, so it would be a lot harder to commit sexual assault.
So let me ask you this: the military can't get the funding for proper gear, i.e., Kevlar helmets and ballistic-proof vests and these damn vehicles to drive in, but they're going to come up with billions of dollars to redo every barracks at every post across the country.
The military budget in
I don't think it
was almost $800 million. So it's, or not 800 million, 800 trillion dollars. Wait, let me.
Okay, for one, I don't think it would cost that much. We wouldn't have to do like a full-on renovation of the facilities.
Yeah, $800 billion is the US
and just to take examples from, like, I live in Oregon, in Portland, so whenever Portland instituted the general gender-neutral laws for bathrooms, they didn't have to start building completely new bathrooms. They just took down the signs that gendered them. They just turned it from men's bathroom, women's bathroom, to this is just a bathroom. Like all they did was take away the unnecessary gendering of the facility. That's all they did.
Did they take out the urinals too?
I don't think so. That would probably cost too much money that the city government would not fork up.
One bathroom's got some extra stalls for the penises out there, and the other bathroom has just got sit downs. But there's no sign. Well,
there's a sign. There's a sign. It just says restroom. It doesn't say men's room, women's room.
Yeah, but there's still, like, at one point in time, it was designed to be non-gender neutral, right?
I'm sorry, say that again.
So there's stalls and urinals in one, and then, women's bathroom, they ain't got no urinals. So now there's just two different bathrooms, huh?
I think that's tangential to the main point. My main point is refuting Jeremy's point, which is it would cost the government billions of dollars to completely renovate their facilities, which I disagree with. And to your initial framing of saying, well, we can't afford Kevlar helmets, but we're going to do this for the facilities. Your issue is not trying to make the military facilities more inclusive to non-binary and transgender people. Your issue is the CEOs of Raytheon and Boeing that is essentially skimming all the money off the top, preventing servicemen like you from getting a decent living in life. It's not the transgenders that are doing it; it's the bourgeois.
And who is the bourgeois again?
Okay, so when we say bourgeois and proletariat, the only distinction is bourgeois are property owners, proletariat are individual workers. So the CEOs, the people that own stock, stocks are liquid ownership of companies. People that are in those positions, they are the owners, and they give the say-so for the decisions of those companies. They're the ones skimming all the money that could otherwise be gone to help the individual servicemen.
Yeah.
And the government's complicit in it because since the 1970s, corporations are viewed as individual people. Those court cases were essentially the death of our democracy.
It is absolutely absurd that men and women who serve our country get paid as little as they do. I think that is
Yep. And I just want to point it
right.
And I don't want to call it bigotry because I don't want to be completely abrasive about it, but I think framing it as I know you didn't say it directly, but saying things like, "Oh, we're going to do this for the trans people, but we can't even get helmets." That is part of the very messaging being disseminated by those landowners, by the Fox News outlets, by CNN, by MSNBC. It's all bullshit framing to put the weight and the burdens on individual people to conquer and divide, divide and conquer, so to speak. Don't look at the guy actually making decisions on top of the pyramid argue and fight with the people that you view as degenerate.
And I see what you're trying to say, but at the same time, it's like, you know, the priorities are kind of jacked.
Yeah, because of the because of the property owners, and because of the government officials working directly with those owners. Again, the issue is capital. Unregulated capital is the heart of all these issues. It's not immigrants that's destroying the economy. It's not trans people destroying the military culture. It is a lack of proper prioritization because the people controlling the country don't give a shit about us. They only care about propagating and funding that very institution they come from. You can call it the bourgeois, you can call it the CEO class, you can call it the top 1%, you can put whatever fucking buzzword you want onto it, but that is the heart of it. It's the people making decisions on the top of the pyramid. Your fight is not with the people you fight side by side with just because they decide to identify differently than how you were born. The issue is the people making decisions.
I could care less what somebody does on their, behind closed doors. It's not my damn business. And as long as they don't give me the deer in the headlight look, cool, whatever. What you do on your private time is your private time. That's your business. It ain't got nothing to do with me. Just like the don't ask, don't. It never said that homosexuals could not serve.
Yeah, like my wife just said, somebody's identity is not just private behind doors. Gender is, by its very definition, the presentation of somebody's identity. The whole purpose of gender is in the public eye.
But
would you say, okay, so hypothetically, you are a straight presenting person. If somebody was to come up to you and say it's wrong for you to wear a t-shirt and to buzz cut your hair because it's they view it as degenerate, and they're saying you can't be around children because of the way you're presenting, you would look at them like they're a fucking idiot, because you shaving your head and wearing a t-shirt has nothing to do with the possibility of harming children or anything like that. If you're gonna talk, why don't you just unmute yourself?
Yeah.
Wait,
All
what?
that hollering in the background. Brooke's finally trying to speak up and say something. But she's trying to use Rory's mic while being 20 feet away.
She's not trying to use any mic. She's trying to talk.
No, I'm talking to my fucking self. But I can't remember what I said, but I just didn't. I was talking to myself, like I said. It wasn't a point. He just decided to fucking comment on it.
If you want to interject, then don't be afraid to interject. All right.
But
Whatever.
Yeah.
Women.
God. Yeah.
anyway,
I'm sorry. I forgot the point that we were talking on.
Basically, that Jeremy doesn't need to worry about getting poked in the butt when he has to go to drill, and that our men and women who serve our country deserve way more and much more respect than what the fucking elitists allow them to have.
And just because they identify as somewhere out of the cisgender realm, that doesn't inherently make them a predator or put them in a territory where they're likely to be a predator
or a problem to the budget.
Well, we've already talked about what the problem with the
Renovating.
budget is.
Yeah. Property.
All right, guys. It's been an hour 16. Is there anything else we want to talk about?
no,
No?
I think that pretty much kind of got us where we wanted to be.
Jeremy, what's your takeaway from this? Obviously, you think that I am a godless heathen at this point.
My biggest takeaway from this, from tonight is just there's the morals and ethical code has taken a big hit, across the country, and it's gotten way, we've just gotten way too lax, way too soft on certain issues, and it's creating division and animosity amongst the people. That needs to stop.
I've always said for the last few years now, they can't take us all at once. But if you divide us up into little groups of hate, you can conquer us all. And that's exactly what they're doing.
Yep.
And we need to kind of come back together as a people and, stop all the racial crap and, hating what somebody else does just because you don't agree with it. Like I'll tell you this right now. I do not agree that there's 5 different genders out there. You got male and female. You were given certain equipment, and that was not a mistake.
It certainly can be. It's not black and white.
It absolutely is black and white, in my opinion, and I will defend that opinion.
Well, the entire study of medical biology would disagree with you because there's a good 2 to 3% of the general human population that would not fit concretely in 2 different categories. Gender is a broad spectrum, and biological sex is a bimodal spectrum, which means 98% fit within 2 areas, but there's still a giant bit of gray area in between those 2 that people don't fit in. That's what makes them intersex or non-binary.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is if you're a male that has female tendencies, you're not a female.
That would depend on their presentation. There's a litany of different factors that go into gender. Are you saying transgender people aren't valid?
In my opinion, that's exactly right. Because and this is why. You can have a penis but be in touch with your feminine side. There's nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, you're still a male because you were given the male reproductive organ.
It's getting juicy. Don't cut it, Rory.
You can be in touch with with your feminine side all you want to, but you're still a male because you were given the male reproductive organ. That was not a mistake. That was by design.
But you understand that sex is not purely your genitals, right? Like okay. So when you're born, the doctor might assign based on the visual interpretation of genitals. But if you look into biological reality, sex is actually broken up into multiple different criteria. Chromosomes is a good one, but even chromosomes are not reliable because there's actually 3 different chromosomal groups. There's XY, Y, and XXY, which are generally intersex people or hermaphrodited people. There's a whole lot of exceptions. So to say somebody is born with a penis, therefore they're male, is spitting in the face of modern medical biology. Not to mention there's certain dysmorphia syndromes that people can be born with where their biological functions, i.e. their genitals, their hormone production, are what you would call male, but their brain and the way that the brain is interpreting its body is what we would call a feminine brain. So it's kind of like a constant inner turmoil. I'm sorry, I'm losing my ability to speak at this point. A constant inner turmoil that the person's constantly going through. It's basically like a living agony of your bottom half saying you're masculine, but the top half that wants to present your actual physical being is feminine. So then you get stuck in what is known as gender dysmorphia. So people get corrective surgeries to align with how they personally feel. That's not just one day a guy wakes up and he's like, that dress looks pretty, I'm a woman now. That's bullshit. That is bullshit framing given to you through mostly conservative media. In reality, I work with quite a few transgender people. Some of them you wouldn't even know are transgender. You would just think that they're just a normal cis woman unless you went up and talked to them. At the end of the day,
Grabbed them by the...
well, that would be sexual assault, and then you would be the SO, not the trans person.
Consent is sexy.
At the end of the day, sex and gender is not just black and white, cut and dry like people want it to be. I know that's what you desperately want because it's a lot easier to understand it that way, but your feelings don't jive with the facts, is my point. There's a giant process that trans people go through in society, the legal process, and the medical process in order to present the way that they want to present. And then there's also varying degrees. Some trans people don't want full transition. Some of them are just, like my brother, non-binary cross-dressers that don't say, I'm not a woman and I'm not a male. I don't give a shit about the gender thing. I just want to dress and present how I want to. It's complex, but that's the reality of the situation. And that doesn't mean that he's going to be inherently more prone to sexual predation because he doesn't fit in with the norm. That's how a lot. I know that you're not trying to frame it that way. You're not as brazen as some of the other people that I've talked to. I've talked to people that are flat out like, no, transgender people are literal demons and they're trying to destroy society and rape children. I know that's
Episode
not
19 and 20 can give you a good insight.
I know that's not what you're advocating for. I'm not trying to misrepresent your position, but a lot of the rhetoric that you're using is adjacent to some of that same belief. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's getting to the end of the road for me as much as I would love to continue this.
No, we really do need to tail off. We're almost at an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think... Go ahead, Jeremy.
It basically comes down to, personal opinion. And you can sit there and argue opinion all day long, and
well, if we're talking biological reality, that's the opposite of opinion. We would have, of course, your interpretations are opinion, but we would have to be relying on the medical facts, and the medical facts show that there are an extreme amount of people that are, as it's put, abnormal or out of the cis normativity, and you have to acknowledge those people. You can't just say, "Oh, well, that's just a man that can't acknowledge it's a man." Like, that's not how the shit works. You can have your opinion on it, but your opinion is just not factually based.
well, opinions very seldom are based on fact. It's based on your personal understanding of it.
Boy, ain't that the fucking truth.
That makes it, when you start throwing in facts, now you're getting into a whole different realm outside of opinion. Opinion is just a personal interpretation, where a fact-based statement is now just that, a fact.
You're kind of sounding like Peanut now. So you're basically saying that opinion and fact are in two different worlds. And no, that is not how this shit works. I'm sorry, my guy. Your opinions are informed by your reality. Whether you absorb them through statistical data like myself and try and derive from, factual information and objectivity, or rather you try and absorb them through the rhetoric of pundits, you are still absorbing what you interpret as facts to build the opinion. We all do it.
So
the two are intertwined.
This is gonna have to be an episode 2, part 2. Jeremy Wiggins part 2. Next week, episode 23, we're gonna uncover a potential sex trafficking ring in Harrison City, Arkansas, and Bergman. But after that, we'd like to have you back if you're willing to have another go at this.
Okay.
So, because I think there was still a lot more that we could talk about.
Dude, we can go at this for fucking hours, honestly.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
I had a good ass fucking time. Hey man, if you want to come back and, you know, spit the bullshit again, we can definitely do something. I love talking with people of, I don't know if you consider yourself conservative. A lot of what you said I think would align with more conservative thought, but I love talking with people outside of my political alignment. I like to understand where the core of people's belief are. Essentially, it's the way of changing minds, so to speak. I love being able to talk and open people's minds.
Yep. It's a great thing to do, and like I said, you know, you have to kind of put your political views aside and really get able to listen to another person's point of view. Maybe not to change your mind, but maybe to get better insight to what's really going on.
Yeah.
You got to keep the politics out of it, because when politics is involved with it, then you start getting into, you know, well, you're right, I'm right, you're wrong, I'm wrong, whatever. And as long as you stay focused on the politics, you're missing the heart of the issue. So, but anyway, I think I'm gonna get on here and watch the Yellowstone, because I had it recorded and I done missed it. Also, and I gotta go watch. I like watching it. Oh my God.
I think I forgot to record it.
Man, you guys love Yellowstone.
I can skip the commercials.
So yeah, guys, episode 23. Not exactly sure when we're gonna record it, because Sunday is Christmas, and I'm sure most of us will be busy. But tune in to the Facebook page or any of our socials to find out when that's gonna be. We are gonna potentially uncover a sex trafficking ring in Harrison City, Arkansas. Appreciate you guys for watching. Thank you, Jeremy. And you definitely are not compensated enough for your service, and we appreciate you.
Appreciate y'all.
Love you, man. We're out of here.
All right, that's the end of the show. Catch us next week, guys. Check out all the socials. Sir. Got the Insta, got the Facebook, got fucking Discord public, TikTok, Twitch, Twitter, all that shit. Check us out. Keepers of the Void podcast.